She stands as an unmistakable landmark in New York's harbor off the southern tip of Manhattan. A departure point for our short ferry ride to Liberty Island, which receives around 4 million visitors annually. When people consider New York City, they often think about its iconic infrastructure. Manhattan as a collective, Times Square in particular, the Empire State Building, perhaps Brooklyn Bridge, or the Statue of Liberty behind me. A postage stamp size from afar, but in person almost 100 meters tall, and a symbol of freedom that allows people who visit here to consider their own liberty. We started our tour in the Statue of Liberty Museum, which opened in 2019 and is dedicated to preserving and sharing the history and legacy of what is regarded as an American treasure.
After 9/11, we looked at really the safety of the monument and how our visitors experienced the monument. It used to be you got on the ferry, and then if you wanted to go to the monument and up to the ground, you just got online. And sometimes those lines were hours long. And it was just through a consultant and doing a life safety study, it was decided that that was really not the best way or the safest way for visitors to experience the monument. So we went to a time ticket system, kind of advanced registration for getting into the pedestal, and then there's another ticket for the crown.
The Statue of Liberty National Monument and nearby Ellis Island employs a diverse staff, including this ranger who immigrated to the United States from Grenada in the 1990s, here at the base of the statue.
If you look at the columns, the stone wall here, it's of a different texture, right? That's the original stonework. The bottom portion was removed. When the original torch came down, they brought it inside the lobby, but it couldn't fit through the doors. So the walls had to be removed, the torch brought in, and then it was built back around it.
We then made our way from the base to a lookout pedestal of the monument, learning that it took 215 steps. So we opted for a shorter elevator ride. To get to the crown, an additional 162 steps up a narrow, spiraling staircase, not for the faint-hearted. We've just walked up a spiraling staircase from the pedestal of the Statue of Liberty up into the crown, about 160 plus stairs to get up here, very narrow, a little claustrophobic. They only allow about 500 people up here daily. It can get quite hot in here, quite claustrophobic, but you do get some spectacular views. Where the Atlantic Ocean meets New York's Hudson River, with panoramic views of the harbor and Manhattan in the distance. Park Ranger Langdon says the terror attacks on America on September the 11th, 2001 reshaped the trajectory of his personal story.
11, I joined the Coast Guard because I felt like I needed some sort of training. I wanted to feel empowered. I felt like, I wanted to do something just kind of like to give back. This was, my new home, and just, it was a very sort of terrifying experience. So after the Coast Guard, I came back to New York, got my degree here, and started working here at the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island. And, to think that over 12 million immigrants, entered the United States and were processed right there. And I'm working, telling this story as an immigrant myself. I mean, the poetry isn't lost on me.
Langdon explains that, in his view, the statue represents movement, from its physical evolution to the shifting political and social narratives it continues to inspire.
When the Statue of Liberty arrived here, it was brown, right, made of copper. It took her about 30 years to oxidize and turn green. And as the Statue of Liberty changed over the years, also the idea of liberty has evolved, right? When the Statue of Liberty arrived here in the United States, well, first, when the idea was first presented after the end of the Civil War, women didn't have the right to vote, right? And the idea, Edouard Laboulaye, who had the idea for the statue, was a French professor, an abolitionist, and he was so inspired that at the end of the Civil War, that over 4 million Black Americans now had access to liberty, right? This was now the period of Reconstruction. Yeah. The irony was, by the time the statue was unveiled, we're in Jim Crow, right? And this promise of liberty was not yet a reality for a lot of people, a lot of African Americans.
And on this July 4th, America's independence and what it represents remains a collection of personal stories and experiences.
What the Statue of Liberty sort of represents to me is that this is a place where you can fight for that change, right? The tablet in her hand, one of the interpretations that we have is that it represents the law of the land. The date on it, July 4th, 1776, is the date of American independence, but it's symbolic of the law, the Constitution. And on the law, right, in that Constitution, you have your rights, you have your Bill of Rights, the tools that you use to push democracy forward, right? Freedom of speech. All these rights in there, when you take advantage of these rights as citizens, you're able to fight the shackles and chains of oppression.
A message for the here and now, but one also likely to resonate in different places, where people experience the push and pull of current-day democracies around the world. Sherwin Bryce-Pease, SABC News, New York.